Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Angular Air. I am your host, Justin Schwarzenberger. And today we are going to be taking a behind the scenes look or talk about a little talk that was run at NGConf this year, helping you learn about SwitchMap. So it should be pretty cool. Let's say hi to our panelists, and then we'll say hi to our guests. Join us, panelists today. We've got Bonnie Brennan. Bonnie, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm excited for this show.
We are too. We are too. It's a bonus show this week. We've got 2 shows this week, so that's always pretty cool. And joining us as guests today, actually, one of our guests is a panelist as well, so he's a Ghoulist today. But we've got, the Ghoulist, Mike Brocky. What's going on?
Hi, thanks for having me. I forget the name of the show as a guest, but it's nice to be here to talk with you people.
Yeah.
It's Angular Air, Mike. Get it together. Angular Air. It's kind of a huge show.
Oh, nice. Sounds fun.
It's important.
It's huge when you're on. So, like, as long as you're on, everybody's watching, right? All right, we got Pete Bacon-Darwin with us as well. Pete, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, very well, thank you. It's getting late here, but not as late as Shy.
Not as late as Shy. You mentioned Shy. Shy resonates with us. Shy, how's it going?
Hello. Can you see my shirt correctly, or is it upside down? Is it like...
Well, it's not upside down unless you want to flip upside down. But it's, it looks good.
Backward?
Yeah, there you go.
Is it backward or is it okay?
It looks.
I knew this was going to be a fun show.
I can see myself opposite.
Shy, did you get that copyrighted? Because now that you're putting it on Angular Air, everyone's just going to go and steal the idea. Did you get it trademarked? Wasn't your lawyer supposed to be dealing with that?
I didn't send the pigeon to the lawyer.
No, he didn't. I already stole it. I trademarked it. It's mine now. Sorry.
Yeah, but hello, how are you doing, everyone in the shows?
All right. So y'all did this talk that was kind of like this performance piece, right? And I want to start off by saying, look, Shy, we were talking ahead of time, and you were kind of like, okay, I'm gonna dial it down a little bit, maybe not get so stressed, all this other stuff that I'm gonna do, right? And this talk definitely did not look dialed down. I mean, there was a lot of effort that went into this thing. So what the heck?
But this time was different for me, at least internally. So traditionally, we used to do a recap show after every NGConf, if I remember correctly, but we didn't do one last year. And I didn't push for it because I was exhausted, and I really didn't have a good experience because I was so exhausted and burned out. But this time, for me at least, it was all about I shifted my focus, and it wasn't about me anymore or me doing like a good job or something like that. It was about the audience. It was about them learning and understanding the concept. And from the inception of this talk, this was the focus. First, teach, then humor. So that's why I was much more, like 10x more relaxed this time. Even though that probably Pete and Mike probably thought that I was like, I don't know, too stressed. But I wasn't. This is the relaxed Shy, the version that you saw, Mike and Pete. So
I think we saw a lot more than the relaxed and the stress Shy in the rehearsals leading up to the conference.
Yeah. What do you mean?
So why don't you give a real quick description of what the talk was, what it was about, that sort of thing, so we can get the backstory really quick or the concept, right?
And why were Mike and Pete crying after the dress rehearsals the day before? I'm just kidding.
No, we can talk about that.
We're with our sensitive side. There's nothing wrong with a bit of crying. It helps release the tension.
You didn't hit them, did you, Shy? No beatings.
Again, I cannot answer it without my lawyer. But yeah. So just to give a quick background to the talk. Pete, do you want to explain what this talk was about?
I thought you were going to say, Pete, do you want to explain what switch map is? Well, you should just look at the talk. So as I remember it, we were actually at Angular Connect, and you'd just done a fantastic game show, which I think Sam was on. And you said that you were really tired and everything, but you were still like creative. Let's do some more stuff. And you'd either been talking to Mike first or you were talking to me, but you were batting around ideas saying, yeah, I want to do some kind of collaboration. And reactive extensions was, the new buzzword at the time. So we felt that that was a good place to go. And it's also an area that lots of people find very confusing, even though everyone has to use it now. And I think it was Mike that came up with the idea of observables.
Yeah, that was all I had was the name, and then it was,
and
hey, we're going on this little voyage. Would you like to tag along? And I'm like, a fantastic voyage? Yes, please let me on board.
Let's coordinate rings.
I didn't know that you guys came up with it at Angular Connect, because there was just a few months before NGConf, I think it was maybe February or March, there was a big conversation on Twitter about switch map, and people were saying like, this is the most, actually, I think that came out of Narwhal, Justin, you might have seen that. Maybe Victor Ward, somebody, anyway, people were talking about, they were talking about how like that's the most commonly misused. A lot of people are confused about that. And I thought it was genius that you guys picked up that topic because so many people were talking about it. But you had already been working on this way before.
We were way ahead of him. Yeah, we've been doing that stuff since before Christmas. But at Angular Connect, we hadn't come up with any real ideas at that point, other than Mike's fantastic name. It really was a blue sky project. And we started having weekly meetings and just batting around ideas, very, completely open to anything. Based around what we saw people struggling with RxJS, what we thought was funny and entertaining. And I think Shai was the one who was saying like he liked the idea of a story because the way that he'd been explaining various reactive things to people and like his clients and his friends was using metaphor and stories. And we kind of thought, oh yeah, well maybe we could act out a story. And it's slowly over a few weeks.
Yeah, but before we get into that, I'd like to talk a little bit, assuming that you guys don't have an issue, about where we actually started. And
yeah,
because
I want to just jump in and say that. So just to give, it's fun to do like this, like 3 angles of the same story, right? Like everybody gets it, like a little bit. Everybody remembers it a little bit different. So first of all, Pete was blonde. And Mike was wearing a dress. So this was Angular Connect, okay? If you haven't checked it out, check out the videos. They're hilarious, okay? Mike with the dress and Pete is blonde, but never mind that, okay? So so I actually did a survey in my like mailing list and asking like, what's the hardest thing? Like the one that NGConf, it was around the same time. I didn't know that they were sending a survey, just like for my own like members. And I kept getting like, testing and observables. Observables. That was like the hardest thing that people struggled with. And I am one of those people because I kept trying to remember what the hell switch map does, like when should I use it, and I kept like coming up with these like stories to myself, and then I like talked with Pete about maybe ideas for next year, and I told him about like a different story that I told myself about switch map, and he started saying, wait, we could. And that's where Mike, you would jump in. Wait, we can take like balls and throw them on people, okay? Like, and they could filter, because we started as like doing like RxJS sketches about like different operators.
Before you go further about the different operators, so that was the key of where the observables name came from. It was the idea of, yes, thank you. For modeling the idea after marble diagrams. that people could, because I think that marble diagrams are an excellent way to visualize an observable. But to take that visualization from the level of seeing balls on the screen move across to visually see somebody throwing like ball pit balls, to be able to have people as the operators and throwing balls across the stage was where the concept originally started. So it's not just people throwing balls. I mean, it was like this whole thought out thing.
Yeah, and that's what Pete was saying. And then I met Mike like a few hours later and told him about my idea and then Pete's idea, just as a side note, like to another conversation that we were talking about. And Mike's eyes lit up and he was like, we can call it observables. And I left and I told Pete that, and he left. And we were like, okay, we need to get together like after the conference and just talk about it and see if we have something here. And we actually started with the concept of, hey, let's call it observables. That was supposed to be the name of the talk. And let's throw balls at volunteers from the audience.
So the idea is we were going to create a human pipeline. So each person would be an operator, and they would then have to deal with these balls arriving and then passing them on to other people, and someone would have to filter them out, and the other person would have to delay them, throttle them, or whatever. And it was just going to be complete chaos and lots of fun. But we realized quite quickly that that doesn't actually play out very well on a stage with a very large audience, because they wouldn't really be able to see what was going on. It'd be lots of fun for the people actually doing it.
Yeah. We threw some ideas around it, and that was part of the brainstorming. All right, how do we get this into like an educational point? And then we also did pay attention to the survey that came out from NGConf of, we don't really want the beginner level talks. And we realized that if we were to stay with that approach of actually throwing balls and physically going through those actions, even with volunteers, that we decided we could get probably through map, filter, and maybe one or two other not too deep operators.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
I see, this is how it works. We finish each other's sentences now after reading so much.
This is what happens on stage as well.
This is true. But we decided we wanted to go a little bit deeper. And one of the ones that we were trying to squeeze into that, because I didn't want to let go of the idea of observables. I was the one holding on to that. I said, no, we have to stay with that. But it worked out for the best, and we decided to go deeper on the switch map one. We tried to figure it out how to get that into the original construct, but it didn't really work. So that's why we shifted gears with the approach to the talk in general.
Yeah, and as a lesson from last year, at least my talk, where Bonnie and Mike participated, I felt like it was super funny and very enjoyable, but it wasn't that educational as much as I wanted to be. I felt like because I had to remove a lot of code from the slides, so because I wanted people to pay attention to the stage. So that's why I was very like trying to keep myself from going to the only entertaining side of things, which I love, and try to refocus on let's teach, and then worry about like how to make it enjoyable or funny or entertaining. And yeah, so that's why we dropped the observables spectacle and went for trying to actually teach operators. And we had like a discussion in the start about whether switch map is enough or not, right? Because maybe it's just like one operator and it's like too easy and we can be done with it like in 5 minutes and go home, right? And we have 20 minutes for the talk. But yeah, it was
but then we started discussing actually what switch map does, and then we realized that we didn't understand how it worked either. So we realized actually this is actually quite a hard topic, because none of us could agree on exactly how it works. So we had to then go into the code and read all the source code and then dissect it. And that was when we realized actually rebuilding switch map from scratch is a good way of understanding how it works. and that led us into the next sort of step of how this sketch came about.
Yeah.
But
It
obviously,
just
you don't
makes
want to
us
just have
love you guys
coding.
more.
What?
So,
It just makes us love you guys more.
So we're fallible.
yeah. So
Yeah,
when Pete
yeah.
when Pete said we were well ahead of the curve of knowing that we wanted to go deeper into SwitchMap, it was just that we just came to the realization that we had no idea what SwitchMap did before other people, and that just worked to our advantage for the talk.
Exactly, because we started like trying to it does this and it does that, and we were like, okay, maybe we have a gem here, because we can, while we're building it from scratch, we actually also on the way explain about other topics in RxJS, because you explain about what is flattening an array, okay, which is just flattening, which is just subscribing, to an inner observable, and what, we just touch on small points for like maybe people who are just beginning with RxJS, or like why you should pipe the methods, or what is mapping, which is kind of like the simplest operator that are out there. And we realized that, we have something here, especially when we pushed for to do it as a more of a metaphor or a story. And we tried to find I think for 3 hours, we discussed like different stories. And we had I think a bodyguard, or like a guard at the club or something like that. We thought about different story, a Hollywood producer, right? We had I remember like a few options like those.
And you've got something to do with hamburger restaurant ordering.
Yeah, that was the original story. I used to tell myself about a Burger King place with somebody ordered a meal, and it starts another observable, start making the hamburger and all those stuff. It wasn't that clear, and we ended up with the story that we thought everybody can relate to, which is the startup CEO who keeps changing his mind about what's the latest technology we should use. So we, just no, let's forget about, GWT and now switch to JavaScript, and let's forget about JavaScript. Let's switch to Ruby. Let's, always, and something that everybody can relate to, even if they are in the marketing department and not even in the dev department. So that's where we ended, and we felt, I think, that we have something good in the end of that brainstorming session after a few hours.
Now, you mentioned a 3-hour meeting, but I want to be clear here. When you say a 3-hour meeting, the one thing I learned about the three of us is that the one thing that we were worst at throughout everything was scheduling meetings. So I don't think we had a meeting that was scheduled for more than a half hour, and I don't think we had any meetings that lasted less than 2 hours.
It's just because no one of us, except you, Mike, maybe, has a 9 to 5. Even you, Mike, you work from home, right? So all three of us work from home, so we could just be flexible with the time and just and then we get to the point where Mike needs to actually release the CLI before NGConf or during NGConf, and he's like, okay, sorry guys, I cannot join this day because we're releasing the Angular CLI.
Yeah, and I think what was I going to say?
So the other trouble, of course, is that we could never actually get through a meeting without just spending ages just quipping and coming up with silly back and forth. As you can see, guys, you have to really struggle to get us to speak, and you're having to ask lots of closed questions, and we don't really want to talk amongst ourselves. And that was true when we were having these meetings. You would spend 30 minutes of the first meeting would just be hi, how's it going? So let's actually go into doing some of the work now. And I definitely think that it's not a very effective way of getting through meetings, but it was certainly a very enjoyable way of getting through meetings. We really had a lot of fun. And And I think we built up pretty good relationship between the three of us as well over that time. Because I don't know about Mike and Shai, but I hadn't really worked with the two of you before much, not in this kind of level. So we were kind of diving into an unknown. It could have gone horribly wrong. And there were obviously moments where we had some creative differences. But Shai normally managed it very well in a very sort of positive Brad Green kind of a way.
Now, to be clear, though, we did have times where it went horribly wrong. It's good that the code of conduct for NGConf applies to the conference and maybe not necessarily to some of the planning meetings.
Let's just put it this way. It was a good job we were on separate continents or large parts of continents. You couldn't go around each other's house.
Yeah, I was surprised because again, maybe it all came together because if it was maybe the old Shai, I was more like stressed or more like, obnoxious to work with. I don't know. And maybe because I toned it down and this time and actually I didn't know what to expect myself as well because I work with Mike a bunch of times creatively, right? Writing, I don't know, courses and stuff, helping each other with like presentations. But we never worked well. But, sometimes you can feel it when we talked in Angular Connect and you have this like, like music playing. I don't know, like, like a tennis match, right? When you come up with the idea and you talk, each other and it's like a play. So you can sense if you have this click with someone, and I think we both we all three had this from the start. But yeah, you're right. We couldn't have known that it will be such a great collaboration. I think because it really rendered or like we could really show its result, like maybe what we developed over the rehearsals on the stage itself. Because yeah, when we got to, so the plan was to rehearse, of online, right? So we had like, I don't know, 2 meetings a day, few hours each meeting, and we just rehearsed and one of us was like, with the script, the other 2 were without the script and just tried to memorize the lines because it was a hard test. Let's face it.
Although I was never quite sure if Mike was truly not reading the script on the slide because he had this other screen and he kept like coming up with the lines really well. And you're like, you must be reading that. I said, no, I'm not reading that. It's all in here. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. I had it memorized the minute it was written. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's got like this photographic memory. It was unbelievable. Never missed a line.
Yeah,
I wish Alyssa was here. She could empathize with you guys about the torture Shai put her through when she was in NG Rap. She said that you were a very serious taskmaster and that you were like, do it again until it's perfect. But she also said it was really fun to be a part of that. So I think it's probably worth it.
Yeah,
but I can imagine like the rehearsals. Do it again.
Maybe. Yeah. Pete could maybe.
Well, I actually have a question about that. Speaking of Pete, because I want to know how much. Because for me, I love Shai and Mike so much, but I thought Pete kind of stole the show because he was hilarious, and I want to know how much of that you directed and how much of that just was Pete being Pete. Like,
well, I'll tell you what.
Say it again, Pete. Flattening.
I tell you what, even like the hour before we were going on, we were up in Mike's room, and Shai was still like going, no, do that line again. No, it's not like that. Think more like you're slightly crazy, but like psychotic, but in a nice way. It's like, do it again. It's like, okay, flattening. No, not like that. It's flattening. No, it's too much. And like literally, we were doing that over. And at one point, I just said, look, Shai, I'm getting a little stressed here because we're going on in an hour, and like there's this other 19 minutes and 57 seconds of the 20-minute talk, which we haven't covered. We're just covering my little 3 seconds over and over again.
Yeah, but if the direction that he gave you was psychotic but nice, slightly crazy, I think you nailed it. Pete, because that's exactly what we saw on stage. Was a little
Well,
crazy.
in the end, so yeah, in the end, he just said, "Look, just be yourself. It's fine."
Yeah, that was good. That was actually good that you said it, because that's part of the craziness before the talk is like all the adrenaline kicks in and you realize that you're up in 1 hour, and especially if like you have someone like me who's like, I'm from the start. I told Pete and Mike that I asked permission to be like direct, very direct, not to like sugarcoat anything, just to be like, this is what I think, this is what I think. And I didn't try to do it in a mean way. I just tried to do it in a productive way. And it's good that you stopped me like 1 hour before, because I realized, it made me realize that, yeah, it doesn't really help right now, because, it is what it is, and what will be. And we actually had at this point enough rehearsal time, I think, that we could wing it, if something will go wrong. And something did go wrong.
No.
The first,
I
like,
asked
30
lots of people.
seconds
No one noticed.
What was it that was not planned? We can never tell if you're improvising or if that was like a part of the. We can never tell.
The last 19 minutes were
Basically, from the moment Shy got on stage onwards, yeah.
Okay,
it was all improvised.
Okay, but before you reveal that of what it should have been, I have like a ton of stuff I want to ask you about, talk about. But I want to start first by talking about your educational approach with this and the story and some of the things that unfolded, because I think that it was really brilliant and it did such a great job of teaching this topic, right? I kind of want to get into that in a little more detail. You started out with this story that you told, like you mentioned, you gave the whole backstory of like how you got to this story and stuff like that, right? And we talked a little bit about the characters that were in the story. I think there were these very endearing characters. You had 3 of them, right? Well, you actually had more of them.
Yeah, we did end up with more.
We had these 3 main characters, right? We started out with. And the cool thing about that was that they were all different. And I think they were all different characters that people could attach to. They could just say, oh, I'm feeling like Mike. I feel just kind of like I did something and I'm lost. I don't really understand it. Or I'm feeling like Pete and I love
like Psycho.
I'm really into it, right? Or like I'm the one that like Shy's character. I want everything new and shiny. Let's do it. Let's figure out how to do it, right? And so you gave the audience different characters that they could connect to, right? So immediately they can go, okay, I'm engaged in this story, and that was brilliant. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
and as we went on that journey, you slowly you gave the story, got them invested in taking this journey, and then you started slowly burning over here's some code you can see, right? You sprinkled the magic on, and here's some images that go with the code that as it traverses through. And all these educational points just started coming out and allowed you to ground and connect to those things. And so that's a lot right there. But to start with, I thought that was awesome. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So
just quickly, this is a bit like the Q&A at the end of NGConf where the guy said, "I'm sure there was a question coming in there somewhere."
So when we were putting together the talk, it was a collaborative effort throughout, all the way through, from inception through writing the script to acting it out. Everybody was collaborative, and it was all 3 of us doing each of the parts. But when we wrote the script, we did not write it that, all right, this is going to be Pete, this is going to be Shy, this is going to be Mike. It was written with 3 different roles, and we eventually changed the script so that we could find our names. But the 3 roles were a noob, which is basically somebody who wasn't sure of exactly what's going on, who's being educated. The overcocky nerd who thinks he knows what he's talking about and wants to push his thoughts onto somebody, and then reactive teacher man who was just teacher. So the person who can come in with the instruction and the theory behind everything to be able to deliver those 3 aspects of the same story.
Yeah, so we kept, treating them as like separate entities, right? And the nerd is like, the one who knows but cannot teach. And the reactive teacher man should be like the one who is more gentle and try to be empathetic and figure out where the noob is, right? If he understood the whole thing. And I think when we realize we have just one concept to focus on, which is switch map, and like tell the story, rebuild it from scratch, rerun it all the time. It's kind of like, in improvisation, we have this like principle of zoom in. Okay, some people call it give me more color, right? Zoom in on this topic and just talk about this. And we actually zoomed in on switch map a lot of time. And in improv, when you're playing a scene, sometimes when you're a noob in improv, you want to rush it. You want to talk as fast as you can and move the plot forward because you're afraid that what you have is not interesting enough, right? It's too boring. So you want to, let's move there, let's go there, let's, shoot that guy, and instead, what more professional improvisers do is that they focus. So they notice that color on the doorknob is red, or, they notice stuff. So they build this whole world of stuff. So I think that kind of it hit me now, so I just excited about it now, that we actually, I think, use that principle on this talk, which was zooming in on one thing and explore all the details around that one thing to make sure, absolutely sure, that we are not rushing and moving forward the plot to another operator, but actually making sure that no one will leave this talk with a question about what switch map is doing, right? So that was the
the great part about that is, like you said, you focus on the one thing. That what's the audience going to come away with learning, right? And that's switch map. They're going to learn switch map. But the beauty of it is there's all these little other nuggets that will come up and surface that they can learn alongside of that. So they're really going to learn a lot of stuff, but by focusing on the one, their mind can focus on this, and then they just kind of absorb and get these other things. You described flattening, higher order observables, a little refactoring in there with the pipe method, right? And using that. So there's all these little nuggets that came out of that as well that you can walk away with as an audience member going, wow, I just consumed and learned a lot of stuff there. But I was able to mentally, digest it.
And we did spend quite a lot of time discussing this scope issue because we were really quite nervous that one topic was just going to be too little, and people were going to come away saying, "Well, what? They just spent 20 minutes just talking about one operator. What a waste of 20 minutes." But then we started thinking, well, okay, can we throw some other stuff in there? But we immediately realized that to do it justice, that would end up being hugely overrunning. As it was, we were trying to squeeze quite a lot into that 20 minutes. And even at the last hour, on the plane on the way over, I was getting these messages from Shai saying, right, we ought to talk about the other flattening map, like the concat map and the exhaust map and these things as well. Even just one slide just to mention it. And we decided in the end that it wasn't needed because it was such a clean, clear concept. And as you say, once you understand switch map in the way that we explained it, it's quite straightforward to then pick up and understand the other flattening operators, I would say, because you can apply the same mental brain and you just apply different flattening strategy. Yeah.
So actually, I think you suggested, Pete, that we can not include it, not to confuse, and to write a blog post about it later. So I actually picked up the challenge and I started today writing a blog post about it, showing that we tricked you into watching a talk about switch map, but actually you watched a talk about switch map, concat map, merge map, exhaust map, and with this super ninja trick, you could change the flattening strategy and have a new operator, and what to be aware of, and all the nuances that you talked about, Justin, explained. And because this talk is basically just a an infrastructure, okay, to understanding like more operators, more maybe even complicated operators. But when you break it down, you understand that, well, it might not be that complicated once I get what is flattening, what is mapping. So if you map to an observable, again, if you map to plain values, just strings or something like that, you don't need to care about these flattening operators, right? Only if you map to something that returns an observable, then you need to worry about, okay, which flattening strategy should I use, right? And then switch map or merge map or concat map, all the others kicks
Swoosh
in.
map.
Yeah.
Don't forget swoosh map.
Swoosh map. Swoosh map.
Swoosh,
Yeah.
Swoosh.
Swoosh map. So I think it will have an effect much greater than the talk itself, because of this realization of like, okay, this was just a base.
I can't believe you tricked us like that.
Now he's going to trick you into reading a blog, which will then lead you on to actually signing up to one of his courses.
I wish I had a course about ArcGIS. That was so smart of me if I would have had a course.
I think, real quick, because there was another thing you brought up, Justin, that I wanted to talk about, is that as we were writing the script and we're trying to go through and learn our lines and everything else, we had, or at least personally, I had a hard time without any visuals. So we're doing most of our talk preparation and script and rehearsals and attempting to memorize without any slides. But I think a big credit goes to, I think it was mostly Shai and some Pete, the idea of having video slides, not just showing something up there, but to be able to have the talking points and the timing of seeing things move and visually understand the words that we were speaking so that they corresponded with each other back and forth. I think that really helps to drive home the points that we were making. Yeah, that definitely wasn't my idea, because that was a right pain in the rear from the point of view of actually implementing it on stage. That was really hard. So I'm definitely happy to let Shai take all the credit for that. And also he and David did an amazing job of actually putting all those animations together. You know, Mike and I were putting in hours and hours of rehearsal time and previously in terms of writing the script with Shai, but actually in the few weeks up to the conference, Shai was driving off every day to go and see David and spend the entire day like recording these little animations and then tweaking them and changing the timing of them so that they fitted in with the dialogue and cutting them up into the sections so that we could click between them. It was unbelievable the amount of time and effort that went into this. It's vast, which is why I doubt any of us will ever do something like this again.
Yeah. So David is the chief crazy video editor at Hi-Res, and he lives in my town. So I kept driving to his place, and we sat down to figure things out, how we're gonna make it. And that was super hard. But in terms of video, we are used to like hard videos because this is basically what we do. But I think what was like, this was like a Broadway production, because it wasn't just videos, right? When you see videos on YouTube, it's just like you see the video, right? But this required like mostly Pete, and Pete should have like the biggest credit here, because he was the clicker guy. He was supposed to know on like, for 20 minutes, after 4 words, after 5 words, I need to click this. You had like, I don't know, 100 of clicks, because we had, I think like 107
slides in total.
So think about like, we have like maybe 90 or 100 of them as video slides. So for 2 seconds here, 1 second there, everything you saw was video, but in chunk up into 1 second or 2 seconds. So everything needed to be in sync. So every word counted, and Pete needed to rehearse his lines and the clicks of the slides, which was kind of crazy, doing it all like in the few days leading up to the talk. I don't think, because people ask me if we were typing it or not. like on stage. So I guess they didn't realize it was video.
Yes.
And also,
Wow, that's cool.
also one more thing. Maybe I'm exposing them now, but during the rehearsals,
It makes a change, Shai.
what?
Normally you're exposing yourself, not us.
Yeah, no, but it's a family show. No, so in the rehearsals we talked about, like, when we saw the videos, the typing of the code was too slow. So that's part of the tweaks we did to make it like fit into the 20 minutes. So we talked about changing it to Kara speed. Okay, so to do it in Kara speed. So if you ever watch Kara from the Angular team code, she's not human, I think, in terms of coding speed. So I told David, let's take it to Kara speed, just like the enterprise. So that's what we ended up with, Kara speed on the videos. And a fun fact, we asked Stephen Fluen to shoot another angle of the show, of the talk, because we thought, okay, for the editing later, the more the merrier. The more angles we have, the better we can edit it. And so he sat in the front row. Guess next to who? Kara. So when they saw the code, I heard it in the editing audio. She actually, I think, I don't know if he's told her or she told Steven, like, look at the speed. Oh, Steven told Kara, they're faster than you even, or something like that. They're whispering. So maybe I just exposed them. But it's out. What can we do? So yeah, just a fun.
That was quite funny actually, because I think Shai did the original typing, and then speeded it up, and then we would come back to a meeting, and I'd be like, "No, we need that to be faster. We need it to be faster." He's like, "It's already like 3 times what I typed." So he'd go away, and it'd come back. It's like, "Right, this is 5 times." I'm like, still got to be faster. It's going to take too long. And so I think it probably ended up being like 8 times your normal typing speed that we were coming.
Kara speed, yeah. Kara Erickson speed.
But you guys bringing up Kara makes me want to bring up the other aspect of the talk that really helped solidify and bring everything together, which was the other people we were able to incorporate into the talk. So the idea of getting
Did
Ben
someone
Lesh,
say Ben Lesh?
yes, at the beginning was brilliant. And then we were like, hey, wouldn't it be great if? And then we said that a few other times, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could get Mishko to come on stage? Wouldn't it be great? And everybody was so great. And anybody that we asked to help out was like, sure, absolutely. What can I do? Even Jeremy was fine with being in charge of the Backbone material team.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, so definitely thank you to everybody for helping out.
Yeah, lots of these people signed up without even having any idea what we were going to ask them to do. We just kind of said, you want to be on stage with us? We need someone to be something. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll tell you later. And they're like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, just sign this release form. And yeah, but
okay, I have to get in a question before we run out of time because we're getting close to the hour. I want to know where those glasses came from. I just thought, I don't know why I loved them so much, but they were so silly. And like, I don't know if Shai gave them to you and made you wear them, or if you pulled them out and Shai got happy and said, oh, you have to wear them. But I can just imagine that there was a moment there.
Well, actually, these glasses were from my daughter. They had some dressing up glasses that she's had for like 5 years. So they're really small for me. They're not for adults at all. They're for children. And although the very center of the glass is quite clear and straight, the rest of it's really curvy. So when you put them on, you just you get this sort of crazy kaleidoscope kind of vision thing going on. And if you wear them for too long, you start getting headaches and migraines and feeling dizzy and sick. And so what you'll see in the video is that for the first bit, I was supposed to be wearing them, but because I couldn't wear them backstage, I put them on the top of my head, because if I had them on backstage too long, I'd start to feel all sick. So I put them on top of my head, and I completely forgot that I was supposed to be wearing them until halfway through. and I suddenly go, oh yeah, pop them back down, and then you get the effect.
I thought it was on purpose, you know. I saw it. I noticed it only on the, I don't know, 17 times when I edited the footage. Then I noticed, hey, Pete is not wearing the glasses. What the hell?
I don't remember it from the talk when we were on stage, because I remember being backstage and I'm starting to walk onto the stage and I'm carrying the laptop to go sit down. And that's when I realized, oh, I guess our talk's starting soon. I had this weird out of body experience of, oh yeah, this is going to happen like about now. But yeah, I had no idea. I didn't even pay attention to the glasses or what have you. Until you just pointed it out now.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't notice only after watching the final video. And before we run out of time, just like to share, because we mentioned it before, but what the hell happened during the show, right?
Before that, real quick,
Something went wrong.
I need to apologize real quick though. So I want to apologize to Pete for A, not noticing about your glasses, and B, for stepping on your hand on stage. To formally apologize for that. I'm sorry.
It's better now. It's okay.
Yeah, that was unplanned as well. So we had a bug. We had like a constraint to use. We need to use PowerPoint, but an old version, because this is what I had on my laptop, and that old version has a bug where when you play a video, if you accidentally skipped, you know, just like with the slide, oops, I went over like 2 slides or something like that, you cannot go back. Okay, because if you go back, everything gets screwed. Like, you know, it jumped back to the first frame, and we needed to be continuous. So we knew that if something will happen and we'll miss the cue, we'll click twice instead of once. That's it. That, like, here goes all that point away. And so we didn't do it like on purpose. Like, again, I was in charge, I think, on very short time of the script, of the first slides, and then Pete took over, and we didn't miss like our cues. But on stage, for the first time, we discovered there's probably a new bug, okay, which happens only on stage, which is when you click once, it jumps 2 slides randomly, okay? So that's what happens, I think, after like the 3rd slide, like where, if you remember, the CEO fires the, what the hell, this is what I was thinking, like, you know, and all of us.
Luckily, you didn't swear in Hebrew this time.
Yeah, I didn't swear in Hebrew. But like, we all were looking at each other, like, you could see like this brain freeze.
What do we do now?
What do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? Okay. And we just like improvised our way out of this like weird situation, because we had a whole point and we just skipped the whole thing, and now everything was built on top of that point. And now we need to figure out how to phrase stuff differently on stage, like in live. So that caused a few hiccups. We're like looking at each other, like trying to figure out what the hell. And it actually threw us off, I think, a bunch of times from the original script. And we, all 3 of us had points in the talk where we completely forgot our lines, okay, completely. And so completely that we were sure that it's the other guy's line now. So, and why won't you?
Afterwards, I was describing it to people like getting lost in the forest. You know, you're walking along the path and you're like, oh, there's a nice tree. I'll just go and have a look at that. And then you turn around and it's like, where's the path gone? Whoa. And then you're wandering around in this wood looking for the path again, and you have no idea where it was. It could have been 2 miles in the other direction.
But I think that's the power of this trio that was formed during the last several months, because I think we had enough experience and enough like getting each other's backs to know, because we learned the other two parts as well. So we knew sort of, okay, no, now it's your part, or now it's your part. So we always have two people trying to push the third one to is like, are you sure you want to go there, or do you want to explain how that works, something like that. So that happened like I think 3 or 4 times. But just a spoiler, you won't see it in the now. The video got released yesterday, I think, or yesterday, and it was after heavy video editing that I did for like I think 16-17 hours. So I actually recorded the missing stuff at my home and added them to the final video. So we want.
So basically, what he did is he rebuilt the entire stage in his home with a big LED screen, and then he dressed up like me and Mike. And actually, you won't notice it. It's really slick.
Yeah. So so when you see the video now, it's actually how it was meant to be. So you won't notice any hiccups. But if you were there in the audience, you would.
That's what you pay the big bucks for going to NGConf, to see the hiccups.
Yeah.
And not the edited version. By the way, I just wanted to say, you talked about my glasses, but actually there were a whole bunch of really cool props that were used, which I think added a massive amount to the quality of the talk, particularly things like the helmet and the gun which shoots money and the various other things. And the guys at NGConf were unbelievably helpful in helping us put all of these things together. I think Shai just emailed them a list of like, you need to get some braces and you need a 10-gallon hat and all these different things, and the wig, or I don't know. And they just got them all sorted, and they were even going to build a door for us on stage, and they were so helpful. And
the NGConf production team, Sunny, Tyler, and all the amazing crew of women that works there. I said it in the last episode about the NG show. I mentioned how much helpful they were, and also I want to mention them, and also the production, like the AV team, who were like, we got there one day before, and they said, hey, you can do like we can switch the lights, to make it more theatrical, and we can go from this camera to this camera, and we can add more angles, and they were like so helpful. So that also made a lot of the show. So I want to also give them credit, and again, the amazing Sunny and Tyler team with all the props, and they actually, the gun with the money was, so we asked for like money to throw, and they like ordered the gun. I think it was Marty specifically. She was like in charge of the getting the props and stuff. So shout out to Marty from the NGConf production team.
But I don't think that you should see that as an excuse to do that in anyone who's watching shouldn't necessarily think that they can just turn up to NGConf and ask them to do, because I think they'll kill us if we set that precedent.
Anyone who wants to put props in their show is probably going to have a pretty funny talk. But I don't know if it's going to be funny like on Shai level funny. That's like a whole nother level.
On Pete and Mike.
The funny wasn't there at the beginning. It was a serious story and everything else. The funny are the things that we added in after the script was put together.
I don't think you three could get up on stage together and not be funny. Like, even if you were trying to be serious, I don't think that you could be not funny.
Because of Pete. Pete is always with the jokes.
And the glasses. You just stand there and wear those glasses and you'll be funny.
Yeah,
you don't even have to talk.
Were amazing. Actually, a fun fact about the glasses, I actually have the same model as Pete, and I brought it all the way just in case Pete will forget his.
There were two. I went up to Pete after and I was like, Pete, I love those glasses. Can I have them? And he's like, no. No, those are my daughters. I only borrowed them.
Of course, true professional.
Cool. All right. Well, we're getting to the end of the show, so we better wrap it up. Any last things on the talk before we get into some picks? Say it now, or
I'm just sorry we didn't really have much to say. Next time we'll try and be a bit more outgoing.
oh,
Yeah,
man.
try and help to drive the show forward a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I was like pulling teeth getting y'all to talk. It was
Yeah.
terrible. Cool. All right. Well, let's do some quick picks and then we'll call it a wrap. So who's got picks? Who wants to go first? Just
I have
shout.
one.
All right, Bonnie.
So, Pete, you don't need this because you already know this, but Shy, well, you probably know this too, but I'm just reminding you, Angular Connect call for papers is open and you only have a month left. And there's some speakers already listed, but you're not on there. So I know you might not be ready to do another production, but you have to because your public needs you. So do it. And everybody else also.
Can I just say on that point, we're also doing a similar thing to what NGConf do, which is having like office hours for CFP. So if anyone's thinking of doing a CFP submission and they want to chat with us, if you go to the CFP page, there are some links to Calendly so that you can actually select a slot where you can talk to one of the organizers about your submission before you enter it. So
Can I
that's some really
book
good chats
with you?
yeah, definitely.
I don't think Pete wants to talk to you anymore, Shy. So
Actually,
is it okay? Shy and I want to do a talk about ConCatMap.
a cat map.
Is that
It's going to have only if you do it in a Dr. Zeus style.
Deal. Just do it. Take it. Do it. It'll be great. I want to see this.
cool? All right. Who else got picks?
So I have one selfish pick because it's a blog post I wrote, but it was about the whole process leading up to this talk. So a lot of the things we talked about today, I just share my personal point of view and also some lessons that I learned along the way about how to reduce the stress levels and all that stuff. So if you're interested, and I wrote it because I opened up this blog because I thought it could help others maybe in before stressful situations and stuff. So check it out, and once the new post will be ready, I hope, I don't know, today or tomorrow, so that will be the following post, so you could check that out also about the merge map and all the other operators. So those are my picks for the day.
And there's a comment in the, so we have people watching Angular Air on YouTube, and there's a comment in the chat from Saroon. He wants you to do change detection next. So that's a great topic. Teach us
With the
about change
rabbi?
detection. Yes.
But I need
Do
to
it,
grow
do
the beard. I need to grow
You grow a
Okay.
good beard. You could totally do it. We believe in you.
I will for next year. Yeah. Give
All
me
right.
1 year.
All right, Pete, you have a pick?
So if anyone wants to know what it's like to rehearse with Shy and Mike, there's a really good YouTube video of Fozzie Bear and Kermit the Frog from The Muppet Show. And Fozzie Bear is trying to give this comedy sketch about called The Comedians of Air. And he's trying to rope Kermit into doing it. And he's trying to give Kermit the line, and they're rehearsing, and it's all going wrong. It's really funny. And when we were rehearsing, I just kept thinking of this over and over again, this little sketch. It just felt so similar to what we were doing. So do go and watch that. It'll entertain you, even if it doesn't, and educate you as much as our talk did.
Cool. Very cool. All right, Mike, do you have anything?
No, I had to pick on Tuesday. I don't have any picks today.
All right. Well, this talk, right? This talk that's on YouTube, the switch map one.
Just a little bit of local storage. But that's it.
And do go and watch the Switch Map talk again, because if you watched it live stream, it's nowhere near as good as it is now that Shy's re-edited it, because you get all the nice close-ups and there's no car crashes. It's really gorgeous. And
it's like an airbrushed piece of art, right? Or a picture.
Yeah. We're all a little bit slimmer. But
Thank you.
Yeah,
but but yeah, I can't. I've seen it. Like, I've been involved in this for so long, and I still watch the video out loud. I just love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, my daughter and I watched it on a TV last night, and it was pretty cool because she kept asking, like, I know with the llama dating site and stuff like that, she remembered us showing that before. So she was asking questions about that, but then she got really excited about all the technical aspects that you talked about that you pulled off here, right? Especially the keyboard thing. She kept asking, that's really cool how he's not really typing the words, but the screen is showing it, but he's typing it, like he's simulating that, right? So she got all excited about the technical aspects of it as well, too. So it's definitely, yeah, you have to watch it. The camera angle switching. I mean, it's a full production, so it was great.
Yeah, what we should have said is we actually had Cara backstage typing live for us.
Everyone would believe that.
Yeah. Cara speed. Yeah.
Awesome.
Make her even more legendary than she already is.
Totally. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Shai, Pete, Mike, thank you so much for your talk and all your efforts, and then for coming on today and giving us this insight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
love you guys.
It's been a lot of fun, and I'm going to miss hanging out with these guys.
Yeah, we should continue, but without like actually preparing a talk. We should just rehearse something, randomly.
Or just hang out without any stress or pressure.
Yeah, and what's the fun in that?
We'll just schedule another Angular Air episode and have everybody on, and we'll just talk about nothing. It'll be like the Seinfeld episode. All right. See you next episode. Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.